Good evening, I'm Dennis Diderot, but you can call me Double D, and these are the top stories from the week. In Men of Letters, Voltaire says that a man of letters cannot easily claim the brilliance of a wit, nor can a wit easily claim being a man of letters. Said the commoner wit, what are letters? Some anti-philosophes are saying that the Illuminati or Masonic lodges are helping sway the public sphere into revolution using theater. We sent a correspondent to try to get some answers from the Illuminati, but he ended up just stumbling out of the woods like this. In other news, Beaumarchais continues to unconvincingly claim that Judge Berdowson is actually his rival, Guzman. But just stop, Beaumarchais. No one's buying it. Beaumarchais is now credited with saying that, due to his play, the nobleman's work can be measured by the same yardstick as a commoner. When we asked the nobleman for comment, he just said, wait till those idiots figure out we're switching to the metric system. Yesterday, at the opening to the sequel of Beaumarchais' Useless Precaution, over 5 people were trampled to death in the parterre. I guess they probably should have used a little more precaution. Today, Rousseau aired his feminist play, Pygmalion, and by no surprise at all, it had a packed house full of women. Some critics of theater are claiming that the sensationalism is leading to a loss of national pride. John Locke, on the other hand, argues that sensation is one of the ways to garner education. This coming from a man who had a 10-year chaste, non-sexual relationship. I'm sure he learned a lot about sensation during that. During the premiere of Voltaire's Mahomet earlier this week, the parterre actually sat very quietly in their seats and didn't create a stir. Oh wait, no they didn't. Here's a clip to prove it. And that's it for the stories of this week. Thank you for joining us on Weekend Update. Good evening, everyone. The first topic of discussion tonight is the growing animation and crowds around local theaters in Paris. Now, it's become of growing concern to actors that people in the parterre are throwing things on stage. We have a clip from the most recent incident that we're going to show you now.
Here's the deal. One more bottle, we go home. It's up to you. We would like to stay. You want us to stay? We want to stay. We want to have some fun. If you don't want to have fun, all you got to do is let us know, and we got no problem. We'll go on our way.
As you can see, this is becoming a growing problem around the entire city. Now, we have a very special guest tonight. We brought the Count from The Marriage of Figaro, the newest play by Beaumarchais, and he's here to discuss his thoughts on not only the audience, but just acting in general. If you would please, describe the atmosphere in the parterre for all of the viewers that come and see your plays.
The parterre is really a unique section of French theater. It's where usually the working class Frenchman sits. It's definitely a more active part of the theater. I mean, that's not to say that the other parts of the theater aren't active or anything like that. It's just that the parterre really attracts a certain type of citizen, and when that citizen's there, he involves himself in a certain kind of behavior, usually the throwing of objects and such.
So, more specifically, what kind of behavior might that be?
The behavior of throwing like tomatoes on stage and stuff like that. It's a distraction for sure, but it's also one of those things where you realize the audience is participating, that they do understand what's going on, and it allows you to really reach out to them. It's what the playwright wanted. It's what the actors want. The engagement. It's obviously what the audience wants to see too.
Okay. So, do you think that these reactions of the parterre are maybe part of a bigger picture, the growing public opinion and some civil unrest in France lately? There's been a big anti-philosoph movement. Do you think that any of these people in the parterre are maybe kind of lashing out towards a bigger picture?
Absolutely. Plays are beginning to show a real significance for Parisians. I think in large part this is due to salons and new political media. While the literacy rate is increasing, I still think the theater has a special place in the Enlightenment. For people who can't read, Rousseau or Voltaire, the theater is a place they can go to really understand and be a part of the Enlightenment. Parisians understand the significance of plays and will react in a way they find most appropriate.
Okay. So, what type of instance during a play would probably cause an outrage like that for a member of the parterre to have to throw fruit on stage?
Generally, anything that's recognizable as being behind the times or halting societal or political progress. This can be something that is representative of like the poor authority of the monarch, or anything that really attacks freedom or liberty in general.
So, many philosophers kind of shaping these plays to say what they want to say to get past role censors. What do you think lies ahead for the future of French theater?
I think philosophers will continue to influence plays, and I think the audience will continue to receive those plays in the way that the philosophers intended. French theater is becoming more and more important to the everyday Parisian. I wouldn't expect anything less in the future from the philosophers and from audiences and from actors. That being said, I do feel that that the parterre attitudes are definitely consistent with the French nation, and I do think that could lead to revolution pretty soon.
Wow, it's pretty powerful stuff. Okay, Count. Well, I think that's it for today. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure. Rousseau, can you explain what sparked your interest to write this letter to D'Alembert?
Absolutely. D'Alembert had wrote an article in the Encyclopedia entitled Geneva, in which he proposed establishing a theater in Geneva, and which I am highly opposed to that because it would lead to moral decay in society.
How would such an inclusive activity, attending the theater, contribute to moral decay in Geneva?
People simply just don't need theater, in my opinion. People should go back to embracing nature rather than romanticizing civilization.
And how would the embrace of nature be progress? Many of us understand going back to nature to be a step backward, really.
In my opinion, embracing nature isn't a step backward in the slightest. Males and females need to go back to their proper roles in society just by eating, sleeping, and having sex. Anything else, like adding theater to the equation, is excess and unnecessary to the progression of society.
So is all of society that's been achieved since what you call the departed of nature, has that all that been in vain?
To an extent, yes. If people refuse to go back to nature when life was better and easier, then I propose being more like Geneva, but how Geneva is now without a theater. Now Geneva is a republic free from authoritative control. That is the best alternative, in my opinion, if there has to be an alternative.
Well, on that note, D'Alembert, can you speak on Rousseau's implication that he believes that a theater in Geneva would be the downfall of Geneva?
To me, Rousseau's claim is kind of ridiculous. The theater only achieves good. It allows people to improve their development of reason and rationality. It allows all classes to participate in enlightenment, the enlightenment conversation. As I've said before in my article, theatrical performances would educate the taste of the citizens and endow them with a delicacy of tact and subtlety of feeling, which is really hard to come by otherwise. In no way would this bring down in no way would this be the downfall of Geneva.
In response to that, D'Alembert paints an agreeable and seductive picture of what theater could bring to Genevan society, and nothing more. It is not economically feasible for Genevans to take up theater since our population is too low to support such an immoral activity.
Okay, well, both sides made some good points today. I think we're going to leave it at that. It was a pretty nice and heated debate, so I'll leave it for you guys to decide whether or not you think a theater would ruin Geneva. That's it for tonight. Thanks for tuning into our show. Have a good night.
What's really important about theater is how inclusive it can be. During the Enlightenment, people from all classes and engaged in theatrical performances in ways that they could not have previously. And I believe theater became a forum of discussion to all people, regardless of class or status.
Enlightenment theater was a medium to disperse new political and social thought, from the high philosophers that fraternized with royalty to the lowly impoverished authors of Grub Street. From drama to satire, Enlightenment playwrights challenged audiences to pursue reason, and with that reason reconceptualize their societies consistent with Enlightenment ideals.
I think French theater is important during the Enlightenment because it became one of the most influential mediums to disperse information. When you have a play like The Marriage of Figaro, for example, that's highly controversial, and you have the aristocrats up in the luxury boxes looking down and seeing the reactions of your everyday common man, it's easy for them to kind of see the social unrest that's becoming part of France and eventually will lead to revolution. Without theater, there would still be a disconnect between those two social classes, and it might not have escalated as high as it did and led to the democracy that we see today.